Authority will now be called to order. Today's date is November 3rd, 2023. With the bridge director, be kind enough to call roll, please.
Chairman Gleason.
Here.
Director Weifert.
Present.
Vice Chair Milliken.
Here.
Member Kinley.
Here.
Member Cheeseman.
Here.
Member Steidel.
Here.
Member Ahrens.
Here.
Council Gleason. Here. And Treasurer Eubanks is not present.
Okay, thank you kindly. Board members, you have the copy of the agenda before you. Are there any additions or corrections to be added? If not, a motion to accept the agenda as presented would be in order.
I so move.
It's been moved and supported that the agenda be approved as presented. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anyone from the public wishing to address the Mackinac Bridge Authority? Anyone from the public? Hearing none, we'll move right on to the approval of previous minutes of the Finance Committee meeting July 19th, 2023, the official board meeting July 20th, 2023, goals, fees, classification meetings of August 8th, 2003, and September 19th, 2003. If there's no additions or corrections to any of these minutes, one motion will be in order to accept all 4 minutes.
As noted.
It's been moved, supported that the minutes be accepted and presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under old business, we'll hear from our engineer, Cole. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good morning. So I know been several meetings now. We've talked about the North Viaduct project on the Mackinac Bridge. I have the good news to talk about it wrapping up finally. So we did our final walkthrough just a couple days ago in the snow partly. So, but thankfully we were able to get the project complete. Again, just as a reminder, the North Viaduct is the bridge from Pier 34 to Pier 48. Pier 34, which is at the end of the causeway, to Pier 48, which is where the bridge ends on the causeway north on the bridge. So just kind of as a reminder of what we are looking to accomplish with the North Viaduct project, and essentially it was replacing the joints, which as you can see here in this top photo, joints are often weaknesses on bridges and no difference with the Mackinac Bridge. You can see here some efflorescence. Clearly water was getting into the deck, starting to deteriorate the concrete, as well as, you can't see it in the photo, but the bearings underneath were starting to corrode because of that water getting through. And then as well as as previously discussed, we had sections of deteriorated concrete on the east side and the south approach truss and viaduct spans, where it's starting to collapse, deteriorate at a rapid rate. Rebar was being exposed, so we wanted to address that as soon as possible as well. So we started off with removing the curb back in June, May and June. And there was some ups and downs getting the curb. We always have challenges doing work on the bridge, handling traffic control, especially when we're taking parts of the bridge off on the road deck. So we had to protect it. I had to keep lanes closed, as well as work with active lanes next to the project. So we did have Anlon Corporation was our prime contractor, and if there's subcontractors working on the project, Doan Companies was their concrete contractor who placed the curb, as well as they had Seaway Painting, which helped provide scaffolding and access, Wolverine seal coatings. Give them a break provided the barrels, and even though the MDA provided the traffic control, which helped us kind of adjust on the fly. But we started with the curb. We were able to get all of the curb removed and replaced. We did have some areas we had to address, and we worked with Anlon and Doan to provide us the corrective action plan to address that curb, and came to an agreement where they were able to address, and they actually removed and replaced about 1,200 feet of the new curb at their expense, because it was under our standards. But all of the curb has now been replaced and sealed, so looking a lot better than that previous photo where it was crumbled. Bring me to the joints. We did work with the contractor to come up. They proposed a different plan compared to what we were originally intending with the staging. So we originally intended the joints to be built in part with construction, so that they would do the northbound side and then the southbound side all in one. Anlon actually proposed, so we worked with them along with our consultant Rowe, who provided construction inspection and testing on this project for us. We have here Mike Roberts and Don Gunderman from Rowe, who helped oversee this project for us, and they worked with us and kind of the contractor as a making sure everything was built correctly. And so with this change, we did require several things from Anlon, including temporary shoring and different details. One thing that this did lead to was it required some more mechanical splicing, because instead of building this side of the joint completely, we did it with the interior lanes and then the outside lanes, which actually helped us quite a bit traffic wise, because it allowed us to keep our lane closure for the project much shorter. So we are willing to work with them on this, and they've provided us the temporary shoring plan and everything to our satisfaction, that we knew they could do this properly and effectively. So again, this is one of the expansion joints that was replaced. I like this picture because it shows the existing expansion joint before it was removed along with the new expansion joint. So the expansion joints on the North Viaduct originally consisted of sliding plate joints. As you can see here, they've now been replaced with strip seal, more standard modern EJ3 MDOT joints. So they allow the bridge to move, but also the benefit of these joints is they provide a seal, so it keeps that water from getting through the bridge onto the steel below. And then we also replaced the relief joints. We did change this detail as well, where you can't see them anymore because we have now effectively paved over the relief joints. So originally they did have areas where the water could get through the deck. And when the final plan for these joints is for the pavement to be replaced and then again it'd be paved over. So you wouldn't actually see this joint at all. But the relief joint would be underneath where it would be saw cut and give the bridge that area for the deck to crack and control that cracking. And again, here's what the completed expansion joint looks like now. You can see it goes all the way across. There's a rubber seal in here that keeps the water out. And this photo down here, I wanted to show it because if you remember the photo I showed originally where you could see the cracking, the efflorescence coming through, you could see this concrete. And it happened to be raining a couple days before I took this photo, so you can see water still getting into the deck around the joints, but where the new concrete was poured as part of the deck, the joint replacement is clean and in good condition. So again, the project, we lucked out with weather. We worked with the contractor and ultimately achieved our goals. As I mentioned, we just did our final walkthrough. We're still doing some final closeout paperwork. But the project is going to come in under budget, as well as effectively accomplish the goals we set out with. So I want to thank, Bill and Anlon, everyone who came together for this project, our own staff that provided the traffic control, a lot of meetings throughout the summer. So for this to come to a successful finish. So any questions?
I got a brilliant comment. I like how you ended it, under budget on time. That was music to everybody.
Yeah, and like I said, the weather worked out for us until the last week or so, so we were finishing just in time. So that kind of brings me to our next topic, which the North Viaduct project is done, but the work isn't. So I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention again because this resulted from our 2020 deck study. And as you can see here, we had the North Viaduct as kind of our first objective in preserving the deck of the Mackinac Bridge. And it's finishing right in time. But we are moving to our next phase, which will be repaving the rest of the bridge. So as I showed you in that picture, you could see water was getting in other locations. So with Mackinac Bridge, it has a asphalt HMA overlay that kind of provides that protection. It was designed in 2008, 2009 to be impermeable. Impermeable completely, not realistic, but it is designed to be very dense and keep that water out. But it is nearing the end of its life, so it needs to be resurfaced. So as you can see, originally it was planned for 25, 26. We have been able, with our own maintenance staff, to kind of keep up with our steel repairs and our grading repairs. This year is actually the lowest our D-rated grading panels has been the last 5 years. So our crews have been doing a great job of moving that. So alternatively, we are moving our paving project up for planned 24-25 construction. And that's because we have been having to patch the deck more. Again, pavements, 15 years is a fairly reasonable life, and we're over that now, and it's noticeable. Even when I began in 2020, the amount of deck patching we were doing was a lot lower than we had to do in the last 2 years. So trying to get ahead of that and preserve the deck and ultimately put off that deck replacement. So we're putting together the project. It is advertised currently and will be let today. But it will include removal of that HMA surface, as you can see here from the last time it was done in 2008, 2009. Well, the surface is removed, we'll do deck patching and address all those areas that we have concerns about before ultimately repaving with a new impermeable, at least designed asphalt to help keep that water out of the deck. So hopefully eventually we'll have, again, this is the last time it was done, a new surface that's going to keep the water out, stop that deck patching. One thing about the more deck patching we have, the more weaknesses we put into the deck, because often you'll see on bridge decks, they call the halo effect, where you put a patch in and then the concrete around the patch will start deteriorating, and we've been doing that. So we're keen to get ahead of it.
Anything different about the asphalt that you're gonna put down now compared to what you did in 08 or 09?
No, the only difference is we're changing the PG grade of what was used then. We did have success with it. Again, it got the planned service life out of it, and this will be designed to last through the deck replacement. So it should be the last time we do it before the deck replacement.
That's it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna be curious to know what your asphalt prices come in at.
Yeah.
then versus now? I know
Yeah.
we've seen in the last few years, so.
We're anticipating, them to be high, as was the case with our original. Just as a reminder, we originally had planned to do the North Viaduct, not just the joints. We had planned to do the deck rehabilitation to the North Viaduct all as one. So we've been deck patching, resurfacing, which is needed, as you saw in those photos. But the prices came in so high, we had to readjust, which changed our timeline. So we're anticipating that, and we've kind of been able to budget for it.
You said the bid letting is today.
Years today, yeah. We had, last I checked, I believe, 12 contractors. There's 12 plan holders, so we have some interest in it, so we're hopeful to get some competitive bids.
When you get the final, and I'd like to always watch the prices as well as the contractors.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure that.
Any other questions of Paul? As always, very good report. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim, Kathleen, the unfortunate situation we had with the crane, do we have an update?
Very cool. Okay. You have some information in your binder, about the crane incident, and, at the time that we created the binder, our crews were just starting to do their repairs, so I included some pictures of them putting out the scaffolding and, using our crane to, put the stages down, so they had a platform to work from to do the repairs. And since that time, we've completed the repairs, so that's what the picture on the screen is here. If you remember the pictures of the damage, there were gouges in the steel, and some of the rivet heads were damaged. So the recommendation after the non-destructive testing and after Parsons' review was to replace the certain number of rivets that had a certain amount of damage to them, even though they tested fine in the non-destructive testing. So we did that. And ended up taking out 6 rivets, is that right, Cole? And so you can see that here. They took the rivets out and replaced those with high strength bolts. And then we took the gouges that the crane caused and ground those out so that we had smooth surfaces, no sharp areas, and then coated it with paint. And so you can see here, this is the inside of that box member with the hole where they took the rivets out. And then they overcoated the whole thing once they did that work. So the work is done. I think they were just lifting up the stages the other day, so it's all pretty fresh. And Cole is keeping track of all the time and materials so that we can turn that into our claim with Phil Bladen's help. He was presenting at the last meeting we had. Some other new news is, if you remember, we spoke about the NTSB being involved. And so we knew that a couple of months ago, but they finally made contact with us last week, and we had a meeting Wednesday morning with the NTSB and with the Coast Guard investigator, and Phil was there, and just to go over some of the facts of the incident. And they are working on their report, and it will be done next spring. And so they said they'd like to have it done within a year of the accident. So we'll be able to get the report next spring. And also the Coast Guard report is not complete yet, but we hope to be able to get that when it's finally done. So.
Kim, can you give us a ballpark on the time and materials that we have here?
I don't have that number. We haven't started accumulating it, so.
It'll be, probably within the next couple weeks.
And we also have the cost to hire Parsons, and then they hired Fickett to come and do the non-destructive testing. So that will all be rolled into that claim amount. Yeah.
And it's anticipated the claims gonna be paid, so it's going to be reimbursed.
Yeah, that's,
That's what I was gonna add. Phil's talked to the attorney for the insurance company, and Phil is pretty confident that everything will be paid. So it's a good situation.
yeah, so we're similar to the construction project. We're ending the year well. We got it done before the weather hit, and it's all buttoned up for the season, and we'll just finish the paperwork.
You know, it's amazing when you look back in time and the discussion of the strength of that bridge, Dr. Steinman was, what can it withstand a freighter hitting the piers? Well, it did withstand a
Yes.
freighter hitting the piers, and Dr. Steinman at the time responded somewhere along the line, you better be worried about the damage to the freighter. Now, there's obviously back 60 some years ago, no one could even conceive the fact that there was a crane that could lift 275 tons. And what it took to buckle that boom, plus the lashing that was tied down to that barge, several hundreds of tons of pressure put on, really not at a main support of the bridge, but almost dead center of that bridge, and the strength that that bridge had to withstand that is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah,
About the structural integrity of that background bridge. It's unbelievable.
yeah. Crane certainly,
Oh,
did
and,
fare very
yeah.
well.
No, but that goes to show you the strength of that boom.
Right,
You know, the lashing alone, it would take 40 tons to part each one of those cables in order for that boom to fail. That is remarkable.
yeah.
Any other comments or questions, Kim? Thank you, Kim. Yeah, that's good news to hear everything's gonna be covered.
Yes.
Okay, under new business, we need a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of security measures. The chair would accept the motion at this time.
I'll make that motion. I move that the board meet in closed session under section 8(1)(h) of the Open Meetings Act to discuss security and safety of the bridge.
Is there support for the motion?
Support.
Been moved, supported. There's no discussion on this. Let's do a roll call on that, please.
Chairman Gleason?
Yes.
Director Weaver?
Yes.
Vice Chair Milliken?
Yes.
Member Kinley?
Yes.
Member Cheeseman?
Yes.
Member Steidel?
Yes.
Member Aaron's?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to excuse, we'd ask everybody to leave. You can make a stretch while we clear the room.
He's ready, Shorty.
All set.
Just texted me.
Okay, a motion would be in order to reconvene the public meeting. Been support, it's been moved, and supported that the Mackinac Bridge Authority's meeting is reconvened, open to the public. The time is 10:10. So, okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next item on the agenda, we'll hear from our finance committee chair, Carol, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance Committee meeting was held yesterday, and with the following items for information only. We had an investment update and economic report from the Department of Treasury. We were pleased to have Eric Buses, who is the Chief Economist and Director of the Office of Revenue and Tax Analysis from Treasury, with us yesterday to give us an update. Also reporting were Lon Chen and Krasimir Yankov from the Department of Treasury. And next, Mike Booby came forward with a traffic and revenue report showing some favorable conditions this year versus last year. And Kami Hansen said that those tokens are just flying off the desk over there. I think there's a brisk business and a lot of interest in their tokens. The last item for discussion yesterday was the ongoing discussions with the DTMB and the Michigan State Police Post, which is our tenant in St. Ignace. The lease expired September 30th. Both parties want to renew it, and we're having discussions about under what terms we can do so. And more information will follow on that as we reach an agreement. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Bill's report under Finance Committee? Hearing none, again, Bill. Under Finance, I'd just like to add, we're just in the process of closing the audit now. For the last fiscal year, I went through the interview with Plant Moran and obviously staff. And not to hire marks for the staff, in particular Tammy, and I learned that right there. So thanks for the good work and cooperation with Plant Moran. Tolls Fees Classification Committee, our chair.
We need approval of individual committee reports to read into it.
Well, there's no,
Information items, no action items.
yes. So there was no, was there something? Well, we can accept the report. Yeah. A motion would be in order to accept the report.
The action to accept the finance committee report.
Is there support? It's been moved, supported that we accept the finance report from Bill Milliken. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again, Bill, and thanks for bringing that to my attention. Tolls Fees Classification Committee Chair, Tricia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the subcommittee met a few times this past fall, and 2 times specifically on the topic of oversized loads and the escorts that we're providing for those trucks, currently free of charge. And you'll recall, we touched on this topic initially, that we were going to start a review when we were in on Mackinac Island. And before I get into this, though, we do have a recommendation, and bear with me because we got some new hot off the press numbers yesterday that might help us solidify before we leave today an exact recommendation. But just for your own edification, because there were questions before, I'll draw your attention that in our draft minutes, there is a good definition that oversized loads needing an escort are defined as tractor trailers carrying loads of 80,000 pounds or more that are not in the truck permit program, over width and over length loads. So I just thought I'd put a fine point on it because we were all kind of trying to imagine those last time. But what our subcommittee learned is, and I found this particularly interesting, is we're doing approximately just shy of 1,700 of these escorts a year. So it helps give you also that context of how many of these are occurring. So Kim and Cammie put together for us, and it's in your packet, not only the fact that other bridges in the area already do charge a fee. So right now, our zero fee is, generally, it sounds as if the trucks are calling ahead for an escort and are anticipating a fee. So they're used to having a fee. That's one thing. And they vary in different prices, as you can see in your handout. But Kim and Cammie also put together what are our costs associated with these escorts, since we're doing $1,700 a year. And they laid out those scenarios in your packet, depending on whether there is 1 employee, 2 employees, or 3 employees doing that escort. They then averaged that dollar figure out. And as you can see in your packet, on average, it costs $67.08 per crossing. But that is just the literal labor costs for doing that. If we were to implement a new fee, we would need software update in our system to accommodate for that. And there's also an administrative cost to all the accounting and the day-to-day transactions of that. So what we discussed was a recommendation that would suggest to the board that we come in at a range of between $80 and $100 and leave that final discretion to Kim to determine the final fee. And I'm sorry, I've glossed over one aspect. At the time of our meeting, we still did not have the cost of the software update. So the software update estimate came in yesterday, and so bear with me, these are the numbers that are not in your packet. Just shy of $65,000. So it's not an insignificant amount to do the software update for this. So it's $64,800. With the anticipation that the software update would really only go for about 3 years until we need to reevaluate our whole software update. So yesterday we ran the numbers of what would be the average cost distributed over all of those 1,700 vehicles for that addition to recoup that additional software update. So that number is $23.48 over the life of 3 years. So looking at the number, the dollar figure for our labor coming in at about $67.08, combined with the software update averaging over 3 years, that's $23.48 for a total of $90.56, plus a 10% administrative cost of administering this new application of the escort, comes to $99.62. So right in that range, we were not comfortable suggesting anything over 100, and it's the actual dollar figure. We can show our homework is $99.62 to adequately cover and not more our costs for providing that escorts service. So, and it would also, Kim anticipates approximately 12 weeks to implement a software update and properly notify the public if we were to go forward with that recommendation. So I think that threw out a lot of numbers, and I'd encourage if our subcommittee members have anything I've glossed over to please chime in. We did originally come in with a range recommendation, but again, our hot off the press numbers are $100 really, so to speak, without having to give back nickels and dimes. That is our update. I would encourage, again, I think we have a recommendation. Again, sorry, it's not amorphous necessarily, but we originally came in with an 80 to 100. I would suggest $100 and an implementation date forward looking, but I think I'd look,
Is that a motion?
It is, I think that if everyone is comfortable with that, because we had this again, an $80 to $100 range, the number is really $100.
Support.
It's been moved, supported that the escort rates for oversized trucks and loads, $100 fee. Is there a discussion on the motion?
I was just gonna say, do we need any discussion with truckers, trucking association that we deal with? Just to give them kind of a communication that's it.
I think that's where the
Take it
12
apart,
week.
couple coverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
James will help us with that.
So I just did the quick math. So the average of the top bridges, the top group bridges of Canada is $125, and they range all over the place. And the East Coast bridges average $105. So we are coming in under the average, and I think we are right in line. Frankly, the work that the committee did justifying how to come to the numbers is
Remarkable. Yeah,
remarkable. And I'm very comfortable that that's an appropriate fee. Remember.
And I'd like to thank the committee, was Carolina and Robert as well, Commissioner, and obviously the staff that come up with that. You know, it's not a suggested rate. I mean, that's spot on. That's the actual cost. So, folks that is very nice out there. Search. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, committee members. The number 9, 2024 meeting schedule. All kinds of room for discussion here with the location, the dates, and whatever you have in mind. So,
I have a date conflict.
well, this I'm not. Good. What is it?
I'm not available March 20 or 21.
Okay.
Prior or the week following.
Okay. Well, the most important day here is March 17th, so we'll take that and work from there. Okay, so you're not available the 20th and 24th, Bill?
2021, no.
And Barb, yours was second to the 9th, okay. Anybody else at this point in time have any conflicts?
Just the end, the last week of March.
Okay, so that would be the 24th to the 20th, or 31st. Okay,
How about the 13, 14, 15?
It's Michigan Bridge Conference Week. So
go the first week of March.
say again.
The first week of March. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
What? What
Well,
about like the 18th, 19th of that? Or is that too close to your 17th?
oh, go ahead, 18th. No, I'm just teasing. Or we could go the 18th or 19th. Is there any conflict there?
I have a conflict.
Okay. It's we're right out of days in March. What about the first week of April? Is that fairly open, or is that's still close enough to a quarterly meeting? Jim, staff?
Yeah.
Have you
I'm good. That first week of April.
first week of April?
Yep, so.
I was thinking spring break, but
Yeah. I said Sunday, the 31st is spring break, doesn't impact me, or it's Easter Sunday, so the week after.
Which is Easter?
Yeah, that 31st.
Well, that might, Barbara said, affect your family.
No.
You sure?
Toward the end of the week.
Yeah.
Instead of the Monday. Yeah, that gets us away from Easter.
Well, traditionally, we've always had it on a Thursday, and Friday,
Mhm.
4th and 5th of April. We can pencil that in right now. And that's for our March meeting, or April meeting, I'm sorry.
Location.
Location. Let's put that out for discussion.
Being in Lansing, that might be. If I'm thinking weather-wise or what, Lansing may be a decent place for that.
Yeah.
Just my thought, but.
You know, and I just like to reiterate that it's always kind of been a common practice throughout the years that, you know, if any board members have a specific location they'd like to have a meeting at, you know, feel free to mention it. And we can work around it. We've done this. And that's part of our obligation is to make sure we have meetings throughout the state of Michigan for the residents to attend. So we have Lansing on the table for the 4th and 5th of April. Is that okay with everybody? And it's always nice when we have a Lansing that a couple of times we had it there at the Capitol too. Maybe we should see if we could get some representatives or senators just to give an overview of some of the transportation bills that we've been asking for.
Just to see their face.
Yeah,
I can work with Troy on that.
yeah. It's always a nice setting when we have it right inside the Capitol.
That is a great idea. Can I chime in as well?
Well, I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
And I guess I'd say my comment would apply to any location. I think it would be great if we could get back into that habit of a little more outreach in general, regardless of where we're at. I think you're right. With Lansing, that's the perfect opportunity, get legislators. But in general, we were kind of going down the road, at least when I was first on the board, of trying to do some outreach with lawmakers or local officials, local community at each of our locations, or even a little media interaction, you know. Where the bridge is here, we're holding our meeting here, we want to remind you the bridge is there and why it's so wonderful. You know, I mean, just it's a totally self-sustaining bridge. All of those highlights to just keep indoctrinating, you know, the public and the media about come on up and visit, but this is what the bridge is all about. I would like to kind of get into that habit if we could, that while we're in a community, we're making a little more of it. That would be just my 2 cents.
There was a public component to this meeting.
Right.
That we've not taken advantage of. We've lost it since COVID. I think we need to get back.
Yeah.
At one point, we had discussion here about going to the Maritime Museum and our maritime facility, and I think that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, because we've had it there before. We've had it beautiful.
And
Haggerty Center, the Haggerty Center.
Okay. Can we cast that in stone then? We'll take a motion for it. Let's just do a motion for it right now so we know. All in favor of the next meeting in April 4th and 5th to be held in Lansing, preferably at the state capitol.
Aye.
Okay, that one's taken care of. July, obviously it's going to be on the island. Now, is there any conflicts with this date?
I will not be there.
17.
Well, is there room to work around that? I mean, we're out
Yeah, that week.
8 months.
Yeah, that week is son getting married and guests coming from out of town, and I can't be going. I'm gonna be in Traverse City, but I can't.
No, I understand that. Is there a way that we can work around that on the island on those?
No, Melissa's been working on when the grant can take us.
Yeah.
And so, no, they don't have any other
What's their company?
any other weeks.
I mean, they're 10 bedrooms.
They had told me they wanted to keep it in July. I had, suggested your dates of August, and they said they wanted.
Yeah, but August is not appropriate.
Right, that was the, yeah.
And then they didn't have the meeting space for us earlier in the week. So they kind of honed me into those 2 days as the only option, just to go to the Grand. I mean,
We don't have meetings. Right.
We are gonna have. our
Oh,
meeting.
yeah. Just kidding.
It just seems odd that the grant is booked with that.
So there are guest rooms, but no meeting area? What about City Hall? Can we go back down?
Yeah.
City Hall?
City Hall. Chastise us for not mopping the floor and cleaning the bathrooms. That's. So,
Did we know we were supposed to?
I've never heard of that responsibility.
so.
So the
Rather
issue is
than
this
just-
time, you want to hold the meeting at the hotel.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, because all of our other meetings have been at City Hall.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that didn't make sense. Is how do they not have room for us for 10 bedrooms? It doesn't make sense, or whatever the need is.
Well,
But it's the media part of it.
But if you hold that meeting at the school or an alternative.
It may have to do with the dinner too. I don't know.
Yeah, I could ask again. She had only given me 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th as an option.
but that's with a meeting with two, right?
That was for all of it, yeah, for the reception dinner.
So the city chastises because we can't go back there and, we got, before we leave, we'll go mop the floor. I mean,
Yeah, because
they chastise us, okay, so you take that.
Libby.
several years ago, there was that deal because these are public meetings. And if the meeting is held at the Grand Hotel, people have to pay $10
To get there. That's exactly.
So that's why we went to the city hall.
That's right. So we're gonna bump into the same thing if somebody's.
We don't want the meetings at the Grand.
Are there
I-
other
No, they let us.
offices like the Parks Commission? Does it have a physical presence on the island where we could use maybe an office
I
there?
think city hall is.
I think they post something that lets people into our open meeting.
Okay,
Without
well,
paying the
I
attendance.
know that was a problem. And we kind of got away from it. I just shouldn't stay away from it. No. Yeah.
Charity? Next summer, the Milliken Nature Center, Arch Rock will be open. And that's a possible venue.
Hey, I like how you,
The square footage
Yeah.
is, or how it's gonna be.
well, they have an enclosed building.
Yes,
Well,
$7.5 million building under construction right now to open in April, opening in May. And it might be worth inquiring about whether that's a suitable possibility for us.
I know the right individual that could acquire that. That would be absolutely
A
excellent.
little logistics to get to Arch Rock. Where we are, but big taxis are going.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea too.
Well, I just met with Steve Brisson, who's the head of the State Park Commission on their plans, and go back to him and ask him if he thinks that's a suitable.
But he was certainly just saying, ready.
Thanks for building on the building for us.
Whatever it takes, guys.
So we're going to, what dates would you?
So the
prefer
week
to
before would
start?
be better.
The week before, so that would be, July, 8th through the 8th and 12th.
8 through 13, 8, 13.
Would that Thursday and Friday, keep it consistent with? Get this. Would that work for you? Right? And that way Bill's got some dates to work with as well.
11, 12 is what you're saying.
Yeah. Would that, does that work for everybody?
Anytime that week.
Yeah, maybe we should ask the group if anytime that week does.
Yeah,
So that Melissa
Any-
has
yeah.
flexibility
Yeah.
as well.
Anytime that week I could do.
so the week of July 8th. Okay, boy, no, that would be excellent.
That would be good.
Yeah. That would be beautiful Saturday.
That's good. It's a stunning piece of
Oh, yeah.
architecture.
Yeah. Okay, so, motion, would be in order to set the week of July 8th on the island. Any 2 days back to back.
Do we prefer to look with the preference of 11, 12?
Yeah.
And shoot for
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
And see what happens?
That's all okay, Melissa, just, okay, very good.
Then you just have to find a dinner space.
No, yeah,
You can do it.
yes. Okay, all in favor?
After we go to the woods for.
Well, I was thinking a picnic at the nature center.
Yes.
We can make things work.
Yes.
Caroline wants to camp.
Oh, boy, I can't.
There we. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, November.
Our mayor decided on the student kind of conflict. So
Yeah.
before the 15th would be great,
Yeah.
anytime for that.
Maybe even before the 12th of a safety factor.
Well,
No, I mean-
know.
The 7th, 8th. We get back up here in November. Yeah, no later. Would that work for everybody?
So.
7th and 8th of November.
Did Barb have a conflict?
No, I'm good with the 7th, 8th, but great, thank you.
Yes, Caroline,
Fine.
7th, 8th.
Is there any rhyme or reason when fall ASHTO gets scheduled?
Yeah, it goes in and out. It just remembers people's memories. Typically big election days, they push the meeting after the election.
Okay.
Sometimes the meeting staff forgets that. And then they set it like 2 weeks before and then have the board of directors and show up because they,
Yeah.
So, yes and no.
Okay, we have the dates of the 7th, 8th of November, the location. Anything? Any ideas?
Well, we're in Lansing earlier, so we
Yeah.
need to maybe
Get back up
Somewhere up
north. Well, it's, it's whatever the board.
Used to do it in the fall, it's the English. But I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, Marquette was always a beautiful place.
That was great.
The public library was always good to us if you went to that far. One day I'd like to return back to Michigan Tech, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just the way it worked out, it was terrible. Because we had so much going on, and nobody could
Nobody could stay alone.
stay
Yeah.
or do a tour and
Yeah.
speak up. So
Yeah, the
so
super.
this was another one. Yeah,
I was.
See, there's the
locks.
yeah.
Yeah.
New lock.
Wow.
That'd be great.
get a tour of the
Get-
Sulaks.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a tour
Compare
of the
notes.
construction of the Sulaks.
I like that.
Weather might,
Yeah. We bring reindeer.
huh?
They don't quit working on the locks because
No, I know,
Yeah.
Greater stuff.
There could be stuff.
Everybody okay with that? November 7th and 8th, 2024. Preferably, Sulaks, to see if we can arrange a tour over there. That'd be great. I'll figure it out. Okay, a motion be in order, Kurt?
I make that motion, we approve November 7 in Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay,
I second that motion.
it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll do that pretty good. Anybody from the public wishing to comment? Anybody from the public? Jim, I just got one brief comment. Have we started into the layoff period yet?
This is the last week,
This-
right?
Next week.
Next week's the
Next week. Approximately how many employees will be getting laid off?
We're down to 3.
For the season, only 3?
No, only in maintenance, but we have more tow workers, but,
Well, that's still very low for maintenance.
it is low, yeah.
Yeah. So did the toggling work out pretty good for going forward? So last year you and I got a pretty good deal.
Yeah, some are toggling to the garage.
Good.
Yeah, we have one employee who's full-time MDOT employee, and then they toggle between the site garage. And then we have a few others that are not officially togglers, but go and work for a garage in the winter. And a few go to counties in the winter. But
If you could, when that all gets finalized, just let me know. I always like to make sure that, there's some room for these individuals to make it through the winter, keep their benefits going, and we get them back in the spring. It's important for that.
yeah, we do have, currently we have a PI position, open that is advertised that we're looking to get, hired, and then they'll stay on through the winter. So we have some of our seasonal employees who are interested in that.
What
Position.
description is that?
It's for a steeplejack position. It's filling. We had a PI employee who chose to go seasonal, so we're backfilling his position. And we also have a groundskeeper position, which is a full-time position that will be posted soon. We're just kind of waiting on civil service to give us the go-ahead to get that posted, and that'll be a full-time position.
Do they work pretty good with us as far as, just say, for example, there was something that was in question where they don't feel that they were qualified. Would we make the final call on that?
Lansing does a screening of
Yeah.
the applicants,
Yeah,
and they make sure they meet the basic qualifications, and then they give us the list to do the interviews with.
okay. But
Is that what you mean?
if there was something in question about, the way I look at it is, if we already have an employee there, I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't have the qualifications
Right.
to at least go through an interview.
Yeah, they would. They would.
Okay, good. That's what I was concerned about. So
We
they would get into that interview process, then it would be up to us.
we did have some difficulty with the groundskeeper position because the position, the civil service rules, the experience required to qualify was more restrictive than we meant it to be. So they gave us the opportunity to rewrite the specification, and so we kind of took out those requirements so that it'd be more open
To where our employees.
because that wasn't the goal of the position.
No,
It was something to do with pesticide application that our employees obviously didn't have. But that's kind of got carried over in that groundskeeper title. That isn't really necessary, but we wanted the other duties. So we worked with Lansing to rewrite that, and our new specification's been approved now.
Yeah. Anytime we can advance our own people, it's always better, especially for the morale.
Mhm.
So, any other issues that your board member would like to bring up to discuss? If not, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, and motion would be in order to adjourn.
That's so moved.
Good luck hunting for those that might venture out. For those that don't, still have fun. Meeting adjourned.